Alright guys, it's Danny Bassi in the building. In today's video, I'm gonna be taking you through the process of how I was able to mix these vocals.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne. We worship and adore you.
Alright, so if today is the first time of you coming across my YouTube channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and then turn on the notification bell to get update on more videos like this. Alright, let's dive in the video.
Alright, so after recording these vocals, the first thing I did was to route this channel to a lead boss, which is this one. So on this channel, what I did first was to add the auto tune. From here, then you can see I added it to 50% returns to 50% humanize, and then she sang on D flat major.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So here is the auto tune.
We worship and adore you. We lift your name on high.
Yeah, so after that, then I now move down to the group bus, where every other plugins were added. So the first plugin, if you listen to the vocal very well, there is noise. It carries noise.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
Okay, from the desk space, I can hear the noise. So the first thing I did was to add my noise gate from Fab Filter. Here's the noise gate.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So if you can listen, if I should turn this off now, then listen to this part. If you hear the kind of his noise.
Worthy is the Lamb.
Now, if I should turn it on, you can't find the noise anywhere there.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
Okay, let's move down to the next plugin. The next plugin I added was my EQ from Fab Filter Pro Q4. So what I did was I cut the low end rumbles to like 160 Hz, but depending on the kind of vocal you're treating, so you should, while cutting, you should also listen in order to avoid facing issues.
Worthy is the Lamb.
Then I did another cut from 300 Hz.
Worthy is the Lamb.
So if you observe, this is kind of a dynamic EQ.
Worthy is the Lamb.
So I did another cut at 3000 Hz, cutting out the harsh frequencies. So I did another cut from 1.2 kHz. Though some people do boost these frequencies, but from my end, I think it was too harsh, so I have to take it down a little.
He's the Lamb.
So the next plugin I added was my compressor. Here's my compressor from Waves. This is my ROC compressor. So I set the attack to 10, release to 100. So then the ratio to 3:1 ratio.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
You can see it's not really doing anything.
We worship and adore you.
So the next plugin I added was my Proceed 2 from Fab Filter. So what I actually used plugin to do was to send the vocal to upfront, bring up the vocal to the face. So what I did was I click on the preset, enter vocals, and then select the upfront. Now you can hear that the vocal will be more to your face now.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
Okay, let's move down to the next plugin. The next plugin I added was my MV2 from Waves. So what I actually use this plugin to do is to move the quiet part of the vocals up front.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So another thing I did again was the noiser. So this is also used to shape tune and then clean out noises. If you can see, I boosted, for those of us that knows how to use the noiser plugin. So I use this plugin to clean up the noise from the high end and then from the low ends.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So then the next plugin I did here was the CC sidechain from Wave plugin. So what I actually use this plugin to do is to shape the tone of the vocal.
Worthy is the Lamb.
So if you can listen, it's not doing really much, but it's not doing anything much. But if you listen, it's shaping the tone of the vocals.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So after then, I added another EQ. There's the second EQ. So what I did here was I cut off the low end still.
Lamb.
I cut out another frequency plus 3000 Hz. I cut out a frequency from 3000 Hz.
Worthy is the
So
Lamb.
actually use this particular EQ to tame down the harshness of the vocal, the high end of the vocal.
Worthy is the Lamb.
So after then I added my de-essing from Waves. So this de-essing now is I use it to cut out the S noises, all those sounds.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So another plugin I added there was my Fresh Air to boost the high end, which I have cutted with the EQs. So I use this plugin now I will show you a little of how this plugin works.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne.
So when using this plugin, you have to be very careful so you don't get a very harsh signals, a very harsh frequency rather. So the next thing I used was my timeless delay to add character and space to the vocal.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne. We worship and adore you.
So this is I added another de-esser, but no, this one wasn't really doing much, but to cut off at least to cut off those frequencies again, those SC sounds. So this one wasn't doing much.
Worthy is the Lamb.
So another thing I added there was my virtual machine, the saturation.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne. We worship and adore you.
So another frequency I added there was another plugin I added there was my compressor from Fab Filter Waves. This is the API 2500. So that is all for the insert channels. And then for my sends, I have my reverb I have my reverb from Valhalla. This is my reverb from Valhalla. I have my reverb from Valhalla. Then on the same channel, I had an EQ. I used to EQ the reverb.
Worthy is the Lamb who's seated on the throne. We worship and adore you. We lift your name on high.
So I added my second reverb rather. This is my second reverb. So I added like 3 reverbs to give it that space, and that space.
Worthy is the Lamb.
So this is the second reverb I used, Valhalla Room from Valhalla. This is another Valhalla plugin I use. This is another Valhalla reverb I use, Valhalla Room. And then I did the same EQ. I did the same EQ on the second reverb. Now let's move over to the third reverb I used. The third reverb I used was my Shimmer from Valhalla. This is the third reverb I used. This is the Shimmer.
Worthy is the Lamb who seated on the throne.
So the next plugin I added was my saturation. I added the saturation. So this is the saturation. I added the saturation. So the saturation I used was my Saturn 2 from Fab Filter. So I use this plugin. I use this preset, Magic BPM. So what I did here was on the high end, I boosted the low. I boosted a little bit of the high end with these bands, just a little, so that it doesn't get harsh. So I think that is all for the sends. Okay, this is the delay. I used delay. I think this delay was mono delay from the stock plugin in Cubase. I use the mono delay. Then I cut off the low end and the high end, leaving it in the mid end, leaving it towards the middle, which is the mid. So I think that is all I did on these vocals. The first plugin was Pro Q and Pro G. This is the gate. I used the gate to cut out the noises. This was a kind of a corrective EQ. Then my compressor. This is a compressor I use in pushing the vocal up front. This is MV2 from Waves. I use this plugin to bring up the low dictates of the vocal. This is the noiser, which I use to tame harshness on each band. This is C6 sidechain stereo from Waves. I use this plugin also to shape the tone of the vocal. This is another corrective EQ. This is the de-essing. This is the fresh air. This is the timeless 3, which is also acted as a delay. And to give it that space, this is another de-essing. My virtual machine, which is a saturation, and then my compressor, which I used to glue the vocal together. So let's play with and without the plugins, without the effects.
Worthy is the Lamb who seated on the throne. We worship and adore you.
Okay, now let's play together with the effects on.
Worthy is the Lamb who seated on the throne. We worship and adore you. We lift your name on high.
Alright, so if today is the first time of you coming across my YouTube channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and then turn on the notification bell to get update on more videos like this.